Welcome back to another episode of Bible Excerpts, and yes, happy Valentine's Day. This study is not a special Valentine's Day edition, though. This is just normal programming. With that said, however, I think I can make a connection to what we're studying and the theme for Valentine's Day. Of course, I'm getting ready to go off on a long rant on Valentine's Day and what it is and what it isn't. Let me think. Do I want to do that? Briefly, I think most people understand the 4 types of love in Greek, and that's what makes languages such as Greek so special to English. English, we sometimes only have one word to describe something that might have many different meanings, and that is love is an excellent example. So there is, let's see, I think, at least on my perspective, eros. Maybe there is not really an order. There is one that is above all. I'll come to that one last. But let's see. Eros is derived from erotic. That's where we get that word from. But eros is the love that most people think about on Valentine's Day. Now there is a time and place for that kind of love. That's within marriage, and it is, I think, a very valuable love that is to be had and should be had within the confines. It's not even really confines, within the intended sphere that God created it for. We won't get into the whole discussion there. Anyway, I think storge is the next one. Storge is, I think, the love of family. Maybe the love of, storge. This is what I get for just deciding last minute I'm going to talk about the 4 loves. We'll come back to storge maybe as I go through them. I'll learn more. Philia is, or philos, is the brotherly love. And storge. Let's storge. Maybe it's love between friends. Storge is. And then the principled love, the love above all else, is agape. And that's the love that God loves us, and the love that we are to have toward God. It's a matter of principle. It's not a matter of touch and feeling. It's not a matter just because you're a brother. It's not a matter just because we're friends. It's principled. It's the love that will lay down its life for others. And so that's the love that we all should have toward one another and toward God. Anyway, that said, we can connect some love aspects into the study, which we are in the book of 2 Chronicles, and we are in chapter 30. This is I kind of see this as a trilogy. It might even be a quadrilogy. Yeah, you can kind of make a whole series on Hezekiah's reign. We're in Hezekiah's reign, and we started with Hezekiah cleansing the temple, and they kept, it wasn't really a feast, they just had a restoration celebration. But then they decided to keep the Passover, and that was our last episode where they sent runners. Just really love that story, and I encourage you to check those videos out. I'll put those up on YouTube if I remember, like in the card thing. So I encourage you to look at that, because it has very powerful lessons. It's not only powerful to see what has been done in the past, but powerful to see how it applies to us today and how we can look forward to similar things in the future. And really, we have no need to fear lest we forget. And the stories in the Bible, the stories in Acts especially, about Peter being set free from prison, about them healing people. Paul walks by and his shadow heals people. Those aren't meant for us to read and marvel and say, wow, wouldn't it have been nice to live in those days? Wouldn't that be cool to be there? No. It's for us. The stories in the Bible are not meant to just gratify us and entertain us. They're meant to encourage us, to rally us, to do even greater things than what's said in the Bible. Jesus said that you will do greater works than I did, because we will have the Holy Spirit. And it's something to look forward to, and I really look forward to that day. And of course, we can't just look forward to it. We have to be preparing for it. And that's what studying the Bible is. And that's what reading these stories does. It prepares our hearts and our minds for what is to come. And today we're in 2 Chronicles chapter 30. And you know what? We're going to start with verse 13. And sorry, a little bit more context before we get into the reading. The runners, they went throughout all Judah and all Israel, and they passed from city to city, Ephraim, Manasseh, Zebulun, and of course many people laughed at them. They laughed them to derision. But there were some from Asher, there were some from Manasseh, and there were some from Zebulun even. They humbled themselves and they came to Jerusalem. But all these different places, they had gone into idolatry. All of these different places, they had fallen and turned away from God's law, from what God originally intended. All right, and that's going to be important later on. But the runners came, and all the runners said, I'm sorry, we're going to do some repeat, just to jog some memory. So verse 7, this is what the runners said. And do not be like your fathers and your brethren, who trespassed against the Lord God of their fathers, so that he gave them up to desolation, as you see. Now do not be stiff-necked, as your fathers were, but yield yourselves to the Lord, and enter his sanctuary, which he was sanctified forever. And serve the Lord your God, that the fierceness of his wrath may turn away from you. For if you return to the Lord, your brethren and your children will be treated with compassion by those who lead them captive, so that they may come back to this land. For the Lord your God is gracious and merciful, and will not turn his face from you if you return to him. So the runners just encourage people to come, to return to God. And it's important that nowhere in their invitation, nowhere in their message did they say, here's a list of things you gotta do before you can come. You gotta do this, you gotta do this. And then you can come. Then you can worship with us, then you can join in the Passover feast. They just said, return to the Lord and he will return to you. Don't be stiff-necked. Just return to God. Don't be like your fathers. Don't be like the rest of the people. Stand alone. Stand for truth and just return to God. That's all you have to do. Again, important as we read. So let's start in verse 13. 2 Chronicles chapter 30. It says, Now many people, a very great assembly, gathered at Jerusalem to keep the feast of unleavened bread in the 2nd month. They arose and took away the altars that were in Jerusalem, and they took away all the incense altars and cast them into the brook of Kidron. Then they slaughtered the Passover lambs on the 14th day of the 2nd month. The priests and the Levites were ashamed and sanctified themselves and brought the burnt offerings to the house of the Lord. They stood in their place according to their custom, according to the law of Moses. The man of God, the priests, sprinkled the blood received from the hand of the Levites. For there were many in the assembly who had not sanctified themselves. Therefore the Levites had charge of the slaughter of the Passover lambs for everyone who was not clean, to sanctify them to the Lord. For a multitude of the people, many from Ephraim, Manasseh, Issachar, and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves. Yet they ate the Passover contrary to what was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, May the good Lord provide atonement for everyone, who prepares his heart to seek God, the Lord God of his fathers, though he is not cleansed according to the purification of the sanctuary. And the Lord listened to Hezekiah and healed the people. I should really look into that. That's a Tihom. Tihom is deep in Hebrew. Tihom verse. Just Tihom. Let's go into that. Firstly, I kind of stuttered a little bit around verse 14. You'll notice, as we've been reading, the book Kidron is it's like a dumping place for idols and all unclean things. They just keep throwing stuff in there as they return to the Lord. I just find that interesting. Anyway, so here we have all these people invited to the Passover feast, okay? Now, according to the law of Moses, maybe we can find it. All right, well, this should be interesting. Let's go to Numbers chapter 9, verse 10. No idea what it says. So, a little bit dangerous going here. Numbers chapter 9, verse 10. But that's kind of the amazing thing about studying the Bible and being led by the Spirit. What did I say, 9 verse 10 or 9:13? Let's see. It was 9:10. All right. Chapter 9, verse 10. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, if anyone of you or your posterity is unclean because of a corpse or is far away on a journey, he may still keep the Lord's Passover. Oh, very interesting. Let's see. So, that is, there's still some things that allowed people to keep the Passover. There were some amendments and some things that helped people to keep it. But the idea was that they were supposed to be clean, they're supposed to purify themselves. And of course, in the Bible, purity and purifying yourselves, it was a physical act. It said, wash yourselves. In Exodus, before the Lord came down on Mount Sinai, they said, prepare yourselves, purify yourselves, cleanse yourselves. And they had all these washing requirements, all these different things, both in there and throughout Levitical law. But as much as it was a physical thing, it was also a spiritual thing. It was symbolic of what they needed to do to their hearts and to their minds too. Okay? And so everyone who was not on a journey needed to be cleansed. Everyone who had not touched a corpse, they all needed to be cleansed, especially from departing from idolatry. Of course, there are different rites that went into that cleansing. But none of these people who came, like from Ephraim, from Manasseh, Issachar, and Zebulun, they did not cleanse themselves. They technically should not have been keeping the Passover. They should not have even been there, according to Levitical and Mosaic law. It's just not how it worked. However, Hezekiah, instead of telling them, you can't be here, you need to cleanse yourselves, come back later, instead of turning people away, he instead prayed for them. He said, may the good Lord provide atonement for everyone. Everyone who prepares their heart to seek God. Though he is not cleansed according to the purification of the sanctuary, may God still cleanse them, make atonement for them. And this right here is important to today, to what's going on. We often think that we have to do some work before we can return to God. We often think we have to do some preparation before we can come to Jesus. But there's really nothing we need to do. If we even look in Luke chapter 15, we won't read the whole beautiful story, at least right now. But in Luke chapter 15, we read verse 20. It says, and he arose and came to his father, but when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And of course, this is the story of the prodigal son. And previously he had just been feeding pigs, just been eating with the pigs. But he came. The Bible doesn't say that he did anything to prepare. He just came. And God did not cast him out. In fact, where is it? It's in John. I think it's chapter 6. Whoever comes to me, I will in no wise cast out. I think there's another verse talking about whoever is of a contrite heart and a right spirit. That might be in Psalms. And so there's nothing that we need to do to prepare ourselves, to cleanse ourselves. And all of the purification that was supposed to be done, it was all symbolic of what Christ was also supposed to be doing to them. It's through Christ's blood that cleanses us, that makes us right. And so instead of rebuking people who we see for being quote unquote unclean, for not being right with God, not doing the right things, instead of rebuking them, instead of turning them away, we should follow Hezekiah's example and pray for them. Because God is able to make atonement for everyone. For everyone. And if we did more praying for people instead of praying on people and what they're doing wrong, how much happier would the Church of God be? How much more blessed would the Christian experience be? And of course, there is a duty still that those people have to do. But they have to do it of their own accord. They have to do it because they are moved to do so. In the prayer, it says that prepares his heart to seek God, the Lord, God of his fathers, though he is not cleansed according to the purification of the sanctuary. So there's still a preparation. But that can be done after we come to God. There's actually two things. So, there are two meanings of God, I think. The first is we come to him as we are. Oh, this is a powerful thing. So we come to him as we are. All right, the first time we come to him as we are. And that's when Christ does his sanctifying work for us and upon us and in our lives. We come to him as we are, no preparation. We're dirty, we're filthy. And then at the end, the second coming, when we get to heaven, we can stand before the throne of God and we're completely changed. We're perfect because not only did Christ make us perfect, but he gave us the ability to live perfect lives and be perfect like our Father, which it says in Matthew. And that's a powerful thought. Let me see if I can find some scriptures to help support that. I'm thinking of one, I think from Corinthians. I think 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter, let's see, where is it? Chapter 12. Yeah. All right. No, excuse me. Chapter 13, verse 12. It says, "For now we see in the mirror, dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known." And there's another text. I forget exactly where it is. And I don't want to drag this video out any longer by trying to find it. But it's another text that talks about in the mirror, we see that we are turning into Christ's image, into the image of God, and reflecting him, becoming more and more into his likeness. And that's what we can do. That is a testament that we have, is that here we have the old man, and then when we finally come to the point where we meet God face to face, there's a huge transformation, completely new being. And man, this could be a very long sermon. I know of texts, don't know the exact places to find them on such short notice, and it'll be quite a long time me flipping through the Bible. But that is what the Christian life is about. It's about coming to God, and then from there, learning about Jesus and becoming more and more like Jesus. So, in essence, when we have things in our heart that we need to fix, that's something else to remember. We have things in our heart that we need to fix too. But don't rebuke those who come to Christ. Encourage them to come as they are. And then from there, pray that God will make atonement, because God can and has and will continue to make atonement for them until they come to the point where they have allowed Christ and the Holy Spirit to work in their hearts to create a new being in Christ. And there's a transformation. And that transformation needs not only happen in the new people that we're trying to bring to Christ, but it needs to happen in our own lives also. So that is my prayer for you this week. We'll see if we get a Thursday video. Again, comment, tell me, do you want 2 videos in a week from Bible excerpts? Let me know. I want to hear your feedback. And thank you for the kind comments. I think Perseverance 777, you made some very kind remarks on some of my Sabbath school thoughts. So I appreciate your support, all of you, leaving likes and subscribing. It really just continues to affirm that Christ has a ministry, and the reality is everyone can do something like this. So thank you. I appreciate you. May God bless you and allow us to be transformed into his image. I'll see you next time on Bible Excerpts, and sooner in Sabbath School Thoughts.